Feel the pinch.
어려움을 겪다.
Feel the pinch.
They feel the pinch.
We can feel the pinch.
It's to feel the pinch.
Global markets will feel the pinch.
As countries feel the pinch.
Feel the pinch.
Hung up on.
무엇에 빠져 있다.
Too hung up on the personal story.
I'm now hung up on a cliffhanger.
And not just get hung up on.
And get hung up on.
Being hung up on.
Still hung up on it.
Hung up on a missed shot.
What do you make of?
무엇에 대해 어떻게 생각하세요?
What do you make of the...
What do you make of that?
What do you make of Cal students?
What do you make of that?
And what do you make of that?
What do you make of some
A match made in heaven.
완벽한 궁합.
And we thought that was a match made in heaven.
And so it's kind of a match made in heaven.
Seem like a match made in heaven.
This seems like a match made in heaven.
As a match made in heaven.
As a match made in heaven.
In some ways, a match made in heaven.
A side hustle.
부업.
Side hustle.
With a side hustle.
Get your side hustle on.
You can have a side hustle.
A side hustle.
Whether it's a side hustle, maybe a main job and a side hustle.
Run a tight ship.
엄격하게 운영하다.
And how to run a tight ship.
And we run a tight ship. And I run a tight ship.
She would run a tight ship.
Listen, I run a tight ship.
When you want to run a tight ship.
No, I run a tight ship.
Put in a good word for.
긍정적으로 말을 해주다.
Put in a good word for you to make you...
Will you put in a good word for...
To put in a good word for them.
Put in a good word for me.
They might put in a good word for you.
To put in a good word for you.
Put in a good word for him.
Make ends meet.
겨우 먹고 살 만큼 벌다.
It's very difficult to make ends meet.
To make ends meet.
She was going to make ends meet.
How are they going to make ends meet?
They found it difficult to make ends meet.
To make ends meet.
To make ends meet.
Get into shape.
건강을 유지하다. 몸매를 유지하다.
Help you get into shape.
That we need to get into shape.
One day I will get into shape.
Want to get into shape.
Ways to get into shape.
To get into shape.
That it was time to get into shape.
Ruffle feathers.
성가시게 하다.
I didn't want to ruffle feathers. Yeah.
Don't ruffle feathers.
Ruffle feathers. I'm like...
Ruffle feathers and
He doesn't ruffle feathers.
Ruffle feathers. We don't want to ruffle feathers.
You know, ruffle feathers.
A train wreck.
엉망진창.
It'd be a train wreck.
Such a train wreck on paper. Bit of a train wreck.
And this was a train wreck.
A total train wreck.
It was a train wreck.
Always a train wreck.
A train wreck.
Hold off on.
미루다.
Hold off on hiring.
Do you actually hold off on bringing in?
is to actually hold off on that.
You hold off on that.
You should also hold off on brushing your...
It lets you hold off on replying to.
So I'd hold off on...
But I'm going to hold off on that.
Fixing to.
무엇을 하려는 참이다.
Fixing to take care of.
And y'all fixing to put us to work.
I'm fixing to stop right up.
We're fixing to go boating.
We're actually fixing to build.
I'm fixing to tell you why.
Fixing to do it again.
Get a kick out of.
아주 재미있어하다.
People get a kick out of the story.
I still get a kick out of the daily...
I sort of get a kick out of working.
If your students would get a kick out of taking...
I get a kick out of, you know.
I get a kick out of that.
Get a kick out of working alongside.
Go out of one's way.
일부러 무엇을 하다. 무리하게 무엇을 하다.
Young children go out of their way to achieve.
You have to go out of your way to find it.
And I go out of my way to say,
We go out of our way to make people feel.
we could go out of our way to brainstorm.
So you need to go out of your way to show them.
People continue to go out of their way.
Overkill.
지나침, 과잉.
Seem like overkill?
I do think it was overkill.
Slider overkill.
It sounds like overkill.
Which was kind of an overkill.
As being overkill.
I think this is kind of overkill.
Nothing to write home about.
특별히 내세울 것 없는.
That's nothing to write home about.
It was certainly nothing to write home about.
Probably nothing to write home about.
Apparently nothing to write home about.
Nothing to write home about.
Is nothing to write home about.
These donuts are nothing to write home about.